Well, hello and welcome back to Transformation Decoded. If you've been following us so far, you know that the three of us came together in a business group, had a very strong affinity for each other, and recognized that we shared a very common thread, and that was that we were continuing always through our lives to transform and reinvent and up level and be a better version of ourselves. At least that's what we strive for, than we were the day before. My name is Isabel Banerjee, and we originally had the concept idea to create a in-studio experience for our audience, but then pandemic 2020 got in our way, and rather than delay, we've taken the opportunity to record our episodes and make them available to you, thanks to Zoom, on our YouTube channel, Transformation Decoded. So today, I'd like to introduce also my colleagues. Jackie, tell us.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, Jackie Ulmer, streetsmartwealth.com, one of the three partners in Transformation Decoded, and looking forward to sharing a great topic with you here today.
Hi, and I am Lee Woodward, and I am the third founder of Transformation Decoded, and very excited about our conversation today, Isabel.
Thank you. And Isabel Banerjee in the capacity of the Encore Catalyst, and we're playing this kind of version of Hollywood Squares for you so that we can share really candidly experiences that we believe that other women are going through and put forward topics for conversation. We encourage you to let us know what's on your mind. Give us feedback and your thoughts and experiences on our conversations so far. And today, we're going to be a little controversial, I think, when we suggest that BFFs are not always forever. So in 2019, I was inspired to write a book and publish it, and along with my own feminine wisdom, I invited the wisdom of other women like Jackie and Lee, 19 others in total, to tell true stories, raw, unmasked, unfiltered, about what it's like to go through life as we evolve, and also how our relationships evolve. One of the chapters, or one of the areas of the book, is a theme called real relationships. And I'm pretty sure you figure out what that means. And it begins with the chapter, Not All BFFs Are Forever. And I tell about an experience of my own, which I know from conversation now with many women, was not exclusive to me. So I'm going to read just a little excerpt from that chapter for you. And if you're curious and you want to read more, and also to read the pieces written by Lee and Jackie, this is the book. It's called, there you go, Who Am I Now? Feminine Wisdom, Unmasked and Uncensored. So, friendships should evolve and change just like we do. Naturally, some friendships come to a complete stop, others stall or coast for a while. Or the really great ones, here's an example, I believe, right here on my screen. They accelerate as friends evolve and grow themselves. Synchronicity of interests, connections, and priorities underpin the sustainability of friendships. I've come to accept that some friendships will ebb and flow, and some reach a peak and fade away. Sadly, some friends leave this earth, and others who we thought were forever friends leave us behind for different reasons. I've experienced the pain of divorce from a spouse and the feelings of loss, failure, anger, and grief that accompany this relationship rupture. But I've also had to divorce someone who I thought would be a best friend forever. Surprisingly, in some ways, I felt more wounded by the loss of a friend than I did by the termination of a Mr. and Mrs. relationship. So, what has been your experience in life in terms of friendships? And let me just put a caveat in there first. I intend to do my very best for as long as I am on this planet to earn the privilege of being a BFF with you, Lee, and you, Jackie. And I think we have a higher probability of success because of what I said in the beginning, because we share some common values about continuing evolution and personal development and growth. And also we are wickedly fabulous and entertaining. I hope that that's definitely a prediction come true. All right. So throwing it out to you, for all of you who are listening, we meet every Monday morning. We have a do or die commitment to each other, to support each other personally and professionally in our development in a mastermind meeting, which can be 60, 90 minutes, or it could, as the need requires, we call ad hoc meetings to support each other in other times of the week. So this week, we spoke about experiences with friendships, and we spoke about apologies and learning. So Jackie, maybe you could use that as a segue into sharing more about our mastermind theme this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of want to start with just my own feelings around friendships and the space that people fill in your life, that saying, people come into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. I try to hold on to that as much as possible. And, you know, there's so much value in aging because it really truly does bring wisdom. The wisdom that I have now in my 50s is so much different than certainly in school or my 20s or even my 30s in terms of, you know, learning not to take everything personally, learning to respect people, their boundaries, set my own boundaries, and really understand what the purpose of the friendship is and was or whatever. And also another funny thing is I don't really like to use the word best, and I don't have favorites. It drives my daughter crazy. She'll, you know, what's your favorite color? I don't know. I like so many. Because best to me is so limiting. I have a multitude of best friends, friends who I value so much, you know, for the different things that they fulfill in me, different, you know, attributes that they bring to my life and the relationship and all like that. So I think that's always been an important thing to me is just make many friends and do your best, kind of like you were saying, Isabel. And sometimes it's not going to work out because people do come in for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I have a mantra that I like to use, and that is everyone's doing the best that they can with what they have to work with today, including me. And that including me part is part of the mantra. So I try to give grace and not, you know, be quick to make a judgment or be harsh with words. I have a 24-hour rule. So if something strikes me off, then I will sleep on it, wait 24 hours before responding. And that has served me so well. Even if I hammer it out on the computer, I don't hit send. And it's interesting how the next morning, 24 hours later, when I read it and I've had time to absorb things, the hatefulness and the pettiness and the, oh, I'm going to get back at you that is in that original tone of that email or that written letter, whatever, is way dissipated, and I'm able to come at it from a different thing. But I wanted to read you, we were talking about this on our mastermind yesterday, and this comes from a book I'm reading, Harriet Lerner. She's written a number, but this one's called Why Won't You Apologize? And in it, she talks about, this is the first time I've ever really seen this, when sometimes, do you always have to accept an apology? And do you always have to forgive another person? And so it's very interesting. And one of them is, it's about a business betrayal. It was a good friend, it's not Harriet, but it's a friend of hers, a good friend of hers who she was employed at a company, helped a friend get hired. And then that friend ultimately ended up betraying her because she twisted some of her words around and kind of was conniving behind her back and affected a promotion that this one woman was up for. And in fact, she didn't get the promotion. And ultimately, she ended up leaving the company and went on, and they severed ties and didn't speak any longer. And then several years later, the woman who was in the wrong reached out by email and just basically said, hey, you know, I'm really sorry. I've had time to think back on my actions and my behavior, and I really miss the times that we had together, and I'm so sorry that I did that. It was so wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And the woman who received the email, who was on the receiving end of the ugliness, you know, thought about it for a long time and basically decided this season and this reason is done with this particular friend. And so after thinking about it, she wrote this back, and I thought it was very eloquent and well spoken. But it basically said, Dear Marcia, thank you for your note of apology. I'm glad that you've given so much thought to what happened between us and how your behavior affected me. For me, there is too much water under the bridge to talk further or to try to continue the friendship. I wish you well, and I too have many good memories from our long history together. Best, Joanne. And I thought that was so eloquently done, not, you know, being harsh, not bringing up all the stuff from the past, acknowledging the apology, acknowledging the hurt to some extent, and then owning and putting it back there. This can't go any further. So I wish you the best. So that just really struck me as to put in my notes for, hopefully I won't end up in that situation, but if I do, to remember to have that eloquence.
Right. So what do you think about that, Lee? Do you think that we have to accept apologies?
No, and I think, you know, it really stuck out to me on that because when we talked about doing this topic, I really started to think through my friendships, ones that may have ended, ones that, like you said, just fade away. And what makes me really stand out on that is I think as I've gotten older and have gotten better at drawing my boundaries and knowing what's kind of important to me and where, you know, things can go and where they can't go, whether with the relationships I have in my life, that I have far less drama in my friendships. And when they do fade away, it is just a very natural, it doesn't feel, there's not the need to send the email, right? Because it's just kind of natural, and still think of those people and wish them well. And I can think of one situation where I had a friend who thought that I took an action that was against their best interest. And not being said, they expected me to do something different on their behalf. And I took the same approach. I really thought about it. I actually consulted with a couple friends about, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this, thinking about this. And the approach I took was similar, was kind of, hey, go back, this is the boundary, and you're asking me to do something that's not my responsibility to do, basically. And these are things, and this is how I made the decision, and you're kind of impugning my character by saying, by doing that, there is some judgment to it. And I said, here's my thought process, and here's where I'm at. And, you know, that came back. And although the words were friendly, that friendship definitely ended. And I was okay with it, and it teetered out. It wasn't dramatic, but for me, that was the way, that's where I've kind of gotten to the point of like, hold my boundaries. And if we can work with that and still have a relationship with our mutual boundaries, and their boundaries could be different, and saying, no, to be my friend, I need you to act this way. And it just kind of faded away, but no resentment, no harshness, but it was kind of that same thing. No, even that one event, that one thing was too much water under the bridge. I think more for them than for me, but I was willing to let it go because that's where I was at. So for me, boundaries has been a really big element of me, I think, having such amazing relationships in my life right now.
Awesome. You know, and as I was thinking about the the friendship that inspired that particular excerpt from the book, it and I went through like, okay, I've been divorced. We've all experienced divorce. And yet I felt, it seemed at the time anyway, more deeply wounded by what I perceived was just a completely unfair betrayal. And why did that feel so much more painful for me? And it took a while of reflecting, but then I thought, when a marriage or a personal, intimate relationship is coming undone, it's like there's a period of getting used to that, or there are experiences that accumulate, and the irritation factor is magnified, or the resentment, or the, oh, absolutely, I can't even look at you chew your food, whatever the reasons are, that you then ultimately reach the decision to separate. And even if you're not the one who's deciding, which I've had both experiences in my life, there has been a period of preparation, I guess, emotionally. But with a friendship, because you're not with each other every moment, there is, I felt like I just was completely blindsided. Yes, if I was honest with myself, there were times that I went, ooh, I'm not in favor of that behavior. I don't think that was right. That's not aligned with my beliefs and my values. But because we didn't have to be together all the time, I found a way to justify it. Is that kind of embarrassing to say? But I was justifying bad behavior in favor of, but look at all of the great times we had. And look at all of the wonderful things that we have in common in our life, and the amount of wine we consumed and toasted each other's successes. And so I think that was why, for me, I found it more shocking, hurtful, surprising, uh, with a friendship that I was the dumpee versus the dumper, or at least I said, I can't be a friend to you anymore. Uh, so
Well, I
Jack,
think Isabel, I mean, you're saying felt like that, and I think that's part of the challenge when I think about, I love to meet people. And I will meet people, you walk in the room, you're talking to people, and there's just those few people, you're like, wow, you hit it off. And I think sometimes as women in particular, we're kind of told we're supposed to be nice, get along, not have if somebody wants to be our friend, I'm supposed to let them be my friend, right? Because that's just, I don't know, kind of um, this expectation, because we're nice girls, right? Be a nice girl, be nice. And so I don't think it's surprising that sometimes we find ourselves not paying attention to some of the things that are important to us, and and saying, wait, because we kind of get in this mode of we're supposed to be friends.
Well, I don't think we grow up learning how to set boundaries for the most
Right.
part. And I think what you said, Lee, was beautiful, talking about the boundary part of it. So we are brought up with that expectation of, make room for everybody and be nice and, make friends with the new kid and all like that. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but over time, that can have a negative effect because we've never really learned how to set those boundaries. So then as we get older, we have to kind of stumble through some of the muck and the mess of these situations to finally say, what is my boundary? What is my boundary in this area? What am I willing to tolerate? What am I not willing to tolerate? And how many times? There's that old saying, first time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. So.
right.
Yeah. I watch my daughters, my daughters and my two stepdaughters, and I really marvel at the quality of friends that they have, and a very few close friends that they have remained, I mean, my one stepdaughter's 30, the other's 29, my daughter's about to be 21, and friends since high school or junior high when they first met. The two to three people that are just solid. And I'm so happy that they were able to find those soulmate people that you go, wow, that could really, I personally don't have that. I have very good friends in my life, but I don't have somebody that I met at 9, like my daughter did, and they're still amazing best friends to this time. I don't know. I mean, do you guys have that? Do you have those? That's just not something I've had in my life.
I do thanks to Facebook, honestly. A couple of them I was still engaged with, like sending Christmas cards and that type thing, but Facebook really did, for me, bring that back around. And I had a group of my high school friends here a year and a half ago for the Bob Seger concert. Like nobody lives here. They all flew in and, we had a great time. So I have a group of elementary even. One of them I've known since 4th grade. And then I have a group of, from the airline industry, I have a group of early on airline friends who I still travel with and do stuff with. In fact, I did a Zoom call with 2 of them yesterday. So yeah, I do actually. And I really value those because I feel like they know the original authentic me. They knew me in braces and struggling with boys and, oh my gosh, all that.
Cool.
I love to hear that, Jackie, because I know in the book you shared a lot about your experiences growing up in school and feeling bullied, and how that affected you going through life in terms of your feeling of worthiness and confidence. In fact, the chapter title, I think beautifully entitled Comparanoia, how our experiences around our worth with friends in school can seed some challenges for us to grow out of.
Well, interestingly, the 4th grade one that I just mentioned is one of those. She was bullied with me. We were the ones that we were 2 of the 4 that were constantly in and then out, and then in and then out. So yeah, we chatted several times about it.
So that's sort of a foundational root of the strength of your friendship. You experienced it together. Yeah. I don't have really close personal friends from school, mind you. I'm generationally advanced to both of you, but I have cousins that I grew up with that I have that friend relationship, not just a relative. And I have from different periods of my life very unique friendships that evolved in sort of that version of me in my life, different careers or different relationships that are strong today. And I revel in the ones, especially that, life is busy and I've moved to different countries and I have different relationships and different business now. And so I may not get to talk to these people very frequently, but when we do, this miraculous thing happens. We pick up right where we left off, as if we just put a pause on the button and then we can just start again. And it's such a good thing to have someone who, as you said, knows you from before and has a perspective on how much you have evolved and grown. And unfortunately, one of my dearest friends of that description is one who is no longer on the earth now. And we could do that. It might be every couple of years or it might be every couple of months. But when we talked again, it was such a warmer reunion. And I knew that no matter what time of day or night it was, if I needed to, I could just call her number out of the blue and she'd immediately pick up the phone and say, "What's going on? What do you need? I'm here for you."
Yeah, I have a couple friends like that, really two that come to mind, that it truly does not matter how much time passes. And I like to say, I went back to get my executive MBA in, I think, like '07, '08. And I always say the best thing that I got out of my MBA was my friend Carmen. And especially then, two big careers. She has a very big career, so limited time. And but she's exactly that. We see each other probably a couple times a year, and we live in the same city, but we send the text or whatever. But when we do have that dinner, it is just like we were talking yesterday. And I had another friend of mine just call, who is of a different generation, which I think is also one of the things when I look at my friends. I think she's almost 70. I don't want her to get mad at me if I missed her, but she's right up there. But she said, I know we don't talk very often, but I just know we're always friends. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And it is. It's like, oh, we cannot talk for 5 years, and we'll just pick up right where we left off. And I agree as well. It's really special to have those. And it's not that I don't think about them. And I think that's what we know. We know that, I think about them often, and I know they think about me often. And it's not that we take it for granted. And I don't know what the difference is. I mean, because sometimes neither side feels taken for granted, right? And those are really special, because I think sometimes not every relationship could work that way.
Yeah. So Jackie, what are your thoughts on what's the recipe for that kind of friendship?
That's a great question. Well, and it's kind of funny. I always say I'm not the best at maintaining friendships, although I've managed to maintain a lot. So I'm doing something right. But maybe it's just that constant paranoia of thinking I'm not doing enough, or whatever it is. But one thing, I'm huge about music. I mean, I there's almost no song that can come on the radio unless it's very current that it doesn't immediately transport me back to some memory somewhere with somebody. And that's one of the things that I've really learned to do with especially my girlfriends and my kids. If it comes on the radio, I send them a text. One of them, the one that I was talking about, Take the Long Way Home by Supertramp, 70s. Okay, that was one of our songs, like way back when we were kids, running around at the movies and stuff. So that'll come on, and I'll just send a text, and she'll do the same with me with different songs. And I do that with my kids, and and we'll say, what does that remind you of? And probably about 90% of the time they get it. Like my kids, they get the memory of where we were, what was going on, and that type of thing. So I think it's little things like that. Lee, like what you were talking about, you live in the same city, but you only get together 2 times a year. Let's face it, real life gets in the way, and we only have so much time and so much bandwidth for everybody. So I think it's those little things like that where you can say, hey, I'm thinking of you. I had this great memory, and boom, I'm just going to shoot you a text. I wanted you to know that you're being thought of right now. Just things like that. So I don't know that I have all the answers, but I've learned to act on those little things that pop in when I do think of them, and just say, even if it's, I don't know why, you popped into my head, thinking of you today, what's up?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have this, my theory, and no science behind it. I call it the soulmate theory. And I don't believe in like one single soulmate. And I just don't believe just in romantic soulmates. I just kind of think there are people, and dogs for me, animals, pets, where there is just a special, somehow soul to soul connection, and there's a knowing of each other that just surpasses the amount of time or conversations. There's just, so to me, I just kind of, when I have those types of relationships, to me, I chalk it up to, I was lucky enough to bump into one of my soulmate people. And I just think, and that's what it is. That's just, it's something beyond words.
I'm thinking that there is a strong element of law of attraction. What you put out there, you attract to you. That's something I've observed. If I think about who are my core posse, my most valuable tribe supporters, my inner group of friends, they have the same, they all have in common the same things. And certainly they all are women that inspire me. I know, I don't laugh, right? To be a better version of myself, who love me for who I am, don't expect me to be somebody else. At the same time, they love me enough that they will call me out on my shit if I am, if I'm being a bitch, or if I'm being a wimp, or if I am, just being a complete idiot going off and doing something. But so I guess I trust that those friendships will be there for me. They're a constant in that we share the same values and the same aspirations. And I don't ever have to think twice about it. And that was the other, aha for me in, evaluating that one particular example of the pain of a friendship divorce, was that there were all kinds of indicators that we were not aligned in values and priorities in life. And, but I kept making excuses for that because of the fun factor or the excitement factor. And also, you know what, come on, I'll be honest. I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to give up on it. So I kept trying to befriend enough for two people. And how terribly ridiculous is that, because there's just no reciprocity of friendship. So that are my thoughts, that friends, as long as you're kind of growing at similar paces and how you can relate to each other's journey and support each other, then it doesn't matter how many years or what the origin of the friendship is. It just keeps on giving so remarkably. So
Yeah, and I think on that value thing, Isabel, that really jumped out at me. And I think that to me is the core. And I think sometimes even when aspirations go differently, and I think right now is a great time, lots of stuff for people to think about differently. And what I have found is the people where we may have differences in current events or this or that, underneath, we've always been able to gut check and we have the same values. Right. So we're always aligned value-wise, even though our paths, and I think of my sister, my older sister is definitely one of my best friends. And we are very different from each other. We lead very different life. We have different beliefs on things, but at the core of it, we are so aligned on values. And I know there would never be judgment there. There could be discussion and disagreement, but not judgment. And so I'm with you. I think that values thing is just right at the center of it.
Yeah. If your friend is trying to change you because they don't like who you are, there's another indicator that it's a relationship. It's not a real relationship, and there will be a time limit on it for sure.
Yep.
All right. Any closing feminine wisdom you'd like to share, Jackie?
Yeah, I just, I come back to kind of what I opened with, reason, season, lifetime, and that's okay. And kind of to piggyback on what you were saying, Isabel, in terms of not wanting to have a failure, there are no such thing as failures. They are all lessons, learning lessons and opportunities for growth, whether it be an event, whether it be a pandemic, whether it be a circumstance, a thing, or a person. All of that comes into our lives to teach us lessons.
Absolutely. Lee.
I guess for me, I'm thinking, about friendship. I would say that I try to focus on the type of friend I want to be. Like, how would I want to show up for my friends? And Isabel, to your point earlier, I think that attracts the people that align with that. And so it's just kind of like the people who I have in my life right now as my friends, man, they're amazing. And they show up the way that I try to show up. Not that I do it all the time, but it's where my aspirations of how do I show up for friends. And I think I've attracted the people, a lot of soulmates in my life right now.
Well, you both know that my personal mantra is lift as you climb. And sometimes I'm not able to do the heavy lifting for myself or live my highest, best self. But the friends that I have are like my trampoline. And when I can't live up to my own potential or face what's going on in the world or circumstances, I can always count on the fact that I have my vitamin G trampoline, and I am so grateful for that. And for those of you who may have just joined us for the first time today, Lee kind of hinted at our episode just before this one that we talked about. We had a fabulous two-part episode where Lee and Jackie moderated, and we talked about what we learned about ourselves so far through pandemic 2020. And then we brought it back around to who do we want to be? How do we want to show up in the world now that we have that knowledge and wisdom? So I invite you, slide at the end of this episode with our contact information. And we'd love you to join our Facebook group so we can open the conversation, the dialogue, and communicate with you about what you think about what we're saying and what you as women would like to share and talk about more. And please subscribe if you enjoy our YouTube channel, and bring your BFFs and join us all as we are evolutionary women. Thank you, my amazing friends. Bye for now.
I
Bye.